Tennessee's backup quarterback situation. We all know that the Vols are in great shape with Nico. But what happens if the Vols have to go to their second string quarterback? I found it very interesting that Tennessee brought out Jake Merklinger and Gaston Moore yesterday to a media session. Most of us on the outside looking in would say Gaston Moore not as physically gifted, not as good. He is not going to be the starter, but yet he was out there visiting with the media. Caleb, what were your thoughts?
I think this was a move to put pressure on Jake Merklinger because I think they're very upset with Jake Merklinger having not developed into the type of backup quarterback they need him to be for the year. I don't know why. I can speculate. And Dave, I'm just going to throw this out here. And this may not, you would say crazy Caleb conspiracy, but maybe this is just Caleb conspiracy. So tell me if it's crazy. Jake Merklinger commits to Tennessee. He figures he's going to be Nico's backup, and then he'll be the guy in the future, right? That's probably what he's thinking.
Okay. I'm not taking that leap of faith with you, but I want to follow in your argument. I think any competitor comes to a school like Tennessee and thinks he's going to beat out Nico.
No, maybe he does think he's.
You and I both know that's stupid, but go ahead.
Okay. What if Jake Merklinger then sees that hype went after George McIntyre? Now we know he's going after Faison Brandon. And Merklinger says, you know what? I'm not even going to be on this team at the end of this year. I'm leaving. And so he decides, I don't even care. I'm not going to practice hard. I'm not going to focus on trying to be the best I can be because what is it all for? And what if that has caused an issue for backup quarterback?
Okay. Here are my thoughts. I don't agree with the reasoning and how you get to where you got, but I agree with where you got. And I think the reason he showed up, he's like, God, this Nico is like another level. I really believe that has happened. And I've said that I think he's at another level from the get. So I'm not breaking from tradition on that. I also think he showed up and he thought players get hurt in football, right? And you're not banking on an injury, but a quarterback in Tennessee's offense historically has gotten hurt. Joe Milton got hurt. Hendon Hooker got hurt. It happens. So he's thinking maybe I'll play there. But then you look at Gaston Moore, who, guys, you can make fun of his athletic ability all you want to, but I'm telling you, the kid could run this offense. And you say, man, he's got a better grasp of this offense than I do. I may be able to throw it further. I may be a little bit more accurate, but I'm not going to overcome what is essentially an entire college career head start under Josh Heupel. I think he realizes that he's the odd man out within 2 weeks of him showing up on campus.
At which point Tennessee is stuck with the equivalent of having Joey Matthews as their backup in 1999. I'm sorry, that was a mean shot at Joey Matthews. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, I like Joey Matthews, was torn apart because they didn't protect the quarterback in spring practice. But I get it. He would have been a very good quarterback. What you want him to do is show up like Peyton Manning, who was behind Colquitt, Jerry Colquitt, not one of the kickers. And that's what you want. And he worked as hard as he was, and he was ready to run out there. I haven't received any negative information on Jake Merklinger, but I haven't received any positive information that he's up and ready to go either.
It's totally different with Peyton Manning and Jerry Colquitt. That was Nico Iamaleava and Joe Milton. Because Peyton Manning was the 5-star. There weren't stars at the time, but you get it. He was the highly touted recruit. Jerry Colquitt was a senior, and it's like, oh, Peyton Manning will be the guy the next year, or Brandon Stewart. That was Nico and Joe, where Nico was the 5-star, Joe Milton was a senior. Jake Merklinger would be like, if you get Peyton Manning 1 year, and then the very next year you get Todd Helton. I'm like, who is a solid quarterback who you could trust, but it's like, Nico was amazing, and he was a 5-star. What was Jake Merklinger thinking committing as a year behind a 5-star when he is a more lowly touted recruit?
Well, I'll tell you what I thought, and you'll put yourself in this position for long as a parent. I thought, good for you, son. You're not afraid of competition, but my head thought, I don't know if that's the best fit for you. So unless like grandma lived in Knoxville, which I think those personal decisions should be a factor because you're more likely to have success if you have a support system. So unless there was a tie to Tennessee that I wasn't aware about, I would have thought that's possibly the worst pick you could have possibly ever made.
Yes, I think that could have been the worst pick too.
Maybe I mean, other than going to, I can't even think of somebody that has somebody in that's set to be the starter for 2 years or possibly 3.
What if this is happening? Now, this would throw a wrench in what I'm saying, but because I still believe that Jake Merklinger knows he's not going to be there, so he's not really even caring. But the reason that's not smart,
he didn't seem like he cared a lot yesterday, just to be real honest with you. I hate to read body language and stuff, but it didn't seem overly enthused to be there.
Well, what if this is the case? It could be the opposite, or it should be. If you're Merklinger, maybe you get to play in Heupel's offense for a year because Nico goes down, or you get mop-up duty and you light it up in mop-up duty because you're in Heupel's offense. And it's because you lit it up in mop-up duty, you can command a lot of NIL money on the transfer portal market to go somewhere else.
I agree. And with his physical ability, I don't think he has to necessarily perform to get good money on the transfer market. I think he just says, look, I'm behind a generational quarterback. I can still play. My question is, does his attitude change? And help me with the timeline on this of George McIntyre committing. I wonder if, and we're not going to know if his mindset changed, but also Faison Brandon. Was he promised that you're the next guy behind Nico, just sit 2 years and that guy's going to go to the NFL? And then you see McIntyre and Faison, who we think is going to commit to Tennessee as the number 1 prospect in the country. You know, if I'm looking at that and I've been made any recruiting promises, and I know these promises were made a lot under previous coaching staffs I covered, Butch, but I don't know if they've been made under Heupel. But if they were, that could definitely undermine what you're doing with your quarterback situation and with what Merklinger thinks about his standing in your mind. But if you were just to absolutely bet on one guy that ends up being the odd man out, it's got to be Merklinger. I don't see it being McIntyre. And if Faison ends up committed to Tennessee, you're going to see a similar type of excitement to where Nico was. Instead, it's going to be more like Bryce Young. Do you remember Bryce Young when he came along and everybody said, "Oh, well, they get better at quarterback"? We're saying that. We're saying that now, you and me, but nobody really believes us because they think we're probably Tennessee homers, and they're not aware of how much I talk to people in the program. So that got to past the point of, oh, you're just a homer. So when Faison comes around, you should be thinking to yourself, oh, there's no question he's going to step in and be a successful quarterback because that guy Nico did it already, right?
Yes. No, you're right. Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a factor of just elite quarterback play. And it is. Here's the other part with Merklinger. You don't think it got to his head that everybody's talking about McIntyre and the recruiting and things like that? And it's like people are so high on McIntyre and people are passing over him. It's almost like, did y'all ever see the movie 61 where Roger Maris was clearly like, okay, you're Roger Maris and you're Mickey Mantle's teammate, and everybody hates you because they want Mickey Mantle to beat you in the record chase that year, even though y'all are both playing for the same team and the home crowd's rooting against you. I wonder if Merklinger kind of feels that because of all the McIntyre talk.
I'll tell you the way I'd feel with Merklinger is there's not a great opportunity for short-term success. As a matter of fact, there's no opportunity for short-term success other than an injury. And then I would look at long-term success. I got serious question marks. So would I be better off with my ability going to, and I'm not saying he should transfer, but listen, if they feel higher on Gaston Moore than they do Merklinger, then that's got to be a big red flag.